because it was such a turnaround. But let's get into it. Jabari Smith might be the modern day big. He played center last night. Tari Eason and Jabari Smith was the front court.
It's our future right there with Scoot. Throw in Brandon Miller and
What happened to Sengun?
James Harden. Well, we just beat the Boston Celtics, so I don't know.
I mean, it's because you guys played. I mean, okay, there was a combination of factors. Celtics had an off night.
Celtics suck.
The Celtics had a bad night.
Jason Tatum had a horrible night.
Yeah, he had a horrible night. Jaylen Brown single-handedly almost beat the Rockets.
Future Rocket anyways.
Well, dude, I interviewed S Hoops last night, and he said the same thing about Jaylen Brown to the Knicks. And then I talked to for the Hawks, and they said the same thing about Jaylen Brown to the Hawks. I feel like every team is just like Jaylen Brown next year. He's coming here. It's just like everyone's waiting for Jaylen Brown to join their team.
Anything Celtics related in our group chat with Luke is just it's just a subtle. I'm trying to stir up something from Luke, and it pretty much has never worked, actually. But
Luke is the worst person to try to stir up shit because he knows exactly what you're trying to do, so he just does not instigate it. And you're just like
stupid lawyers.
Yeah, literally. So let me hear your thoughts. What do you think of this performance, and what is it tells us about A, Jabari Smith, and B, the Houston Rockets?
Man, you could go back to so many. Jabari came into the league with flaws, right? Like he's got to get bigger. Not only you also have to acclimate to just how to play in the NBA. I love using Denny Avdija as an example, who's still in his third year and is trending in that right direction as far as like attacking. Jabari couldn't shoot well, and it's just adjusting. In college you play like at max 30 games, and you get rest periods, and you're playing within the same regions usually. In the NBA, like you'll play Boston, and then you'll hop on a jet and head on over to Sacramento, and then you got to play a game sometimes like the next day. And it's just, you can only imagine it takes time. And Jabari just couldn't shoot well. He hasn't shot well all season, and now he's shooting well. Like it's just, can go back to Dirk, Kevin Durant. There are so many great players who struggled desperately. Ray Allen, who struggled desperately in their first year in the NBA as far as shooting goes. And Jabari was still giving me 12 and 7 while shooting like 30% from downtown and 38% from the field. Like, I still feel pretty good about him, but he's just got to continue to add bags to his game because the shooting will eventually get there, as you're starting to see in these last 3 games specifically. But I love him at the 5. I really do. I'm a little bit worried about Alperen Sengun's future with the Houston Rockets because I don't know, Silas doesn't really utilize him properly, and there will be games where you don't see him for the last 20 minutes, and Jabari is turning into a modern day 5. I still want a bigger 5 on my roster, but like if the Rockets had like a Steven Adams off of the bench, like that type of thing. Like I don't want Jabari being my only big man, or like at my 5. When I look at teams like, the Sacramento Kings, like I still need a rim protector. I still need a shot blocker. He can do that, but he's, not 7'2". Shout out Jabari though, man. These Rockets are gonna be good. It's gonna start next year. I'm telling you.
No, I completely understand it. And I think it's definitely was fun to see them play. First off, I did want to say that game, what you said about Denny Avdija in an interview, I think this past year or last year, he said, I think it was this year, beginning of this year, he said part of the problem with him that, why he's had flashes and why it's taking him so long to really acclimate to the NBA game is the NBA schedule. Like you said, that there's been so many times that he's lost count where he couldn't even get up from the bed after a game to go turn off the lights of the hotel room. That like he literally didn't even he couldn't even move after games where you get what I'm saying, like that he was so exhausted, not only physically and mentally, that like it's been a really big adjustment period for him coming, even though he's been playing professionally in Europe. And Jabari Smith, like you said, coming from college, like it's an adjustment period. Like in college you play 2 games a week, maybe 3. And plus, like, everything's catered towards you. So, yeah, it's definitely, I agree with you. There is an adjustment period that people don't realize is a lot more impactful than I think people give credit. So,
Now imagine trying to
what?
like put on weight in an
Oh,
82 game season where you can't get out of bed the next morning, but you have to, and you got to go play and practice, and then the next day you got to play
eat
again.
10,000
Imagine putting
calories
on,
too.
yeah, imagine putting on weight. Like it just, that's why you see guys like, Ja struggle with it too. I remember when Ja first got into the league, him and Triple J, they were like, eating McDonald's and stuff, just trying to bulk up, just trying to like gain weight because you're running so much. It's a grind, dude. It ain't no hobby. It ain't no hobby.
No, I agree. And it's definitely when you see this and how it goes down is that Armis Jones, that Celtics losing to the Rockets shit is nasty. Like, I think first off, one thing we have to give credit to this game is the defense. There was really good perimeter defense against the Celtics. And Tari Eason, we all know how good of a defensive dog he is. And
Tari Eason is so... I don't like using the word underrated too much because sometimes they're not underrated, they're just good. Maybe they're in a small market. I think Tari Eason is genuinely underrated as far as like, people
for a rookie
coming into the draft, he was going to be a good prospect. He's a guy you don't have to draw up plays for. He's going to do all the little things that are going to help you on both sides. He's always in the right place at the right time. There are games where he'll have like 7 offensive rebounds. It's going to get you steals. It's going to get you blocks. He can realistically guard a multitude of different positions, just like Mr. Jabari on the screen here. I think Tari Eason has an extremely bright NBA career, at least like a similar Josh Hart-esque type of guy. If he could develop, if he can add some tricks to his offensive game. I mean,
you know who I think Tari Eason is? He's a mix of Josh Hart and Thad Young.
Thad Young, wow.
Yeah, like he's like in a similar body to Thad Young. You know what I mean? 6'9", 6'8", kind of longer, but he plays more of a Josh Hart style. But like Thad Young, I see him being in a Thad Young role, like worth that, all around 4, can do a little bit of passing, ball handling, shoot, defend, rebound, can be a small ball 5, and even play some 3 in a big lineup.
When you said Thad Young and Josh Hart, who came to my mind on this team?
Who?
Jayshawn Tate.
Well, Jayshawn Tate, I see him in the Royce O'Neal, PJ Tucker, Jay Crowder. Like he's more.
I'll add those 3, and then I'll add in Thaddeus Young because Jayshawn played center at Ohio State, and he around the rim is so patient and he's so savvy.
Wait, Thad Young was center?
Yeah. No, Jayshawn Tate
was a
center at Ohio State.
I did not know that. I did not know he was a center at Ohio State.
It was like 6'6", I believe. Something like that.
Well, I want to talk about the fact that we assume that the front court future is Jabari Smith and Alperen Sengun. And
maybe
we have to understand that with Sengun, his style, he's very ground bound. He hardly leaves his feet, and he provides below average rim protection. Well, Jabari is a better rim protector. And you'd assume that with Smith's combination of length, jump timing, and reaction, he's the rim protector. So when you put out Sengun and Jabari, again, Shagun's not a defender at any means, but you want to think that having Sengun and Jabari Smith out there, you want to keep Sengun from getting played off the floor in a playoff series. And you would assume that, it's hard to think about how you make this rotation work, but if you give more chances this round, Sengun, like let's say Tari Eason, Sengun, and Jabari Smith with Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr., maybe Tari Eason and Jabari Smith can do good enough jobs to mask the defensive deficiency of Jalen Green and Alperen Sengun. But the crazy part is that Alperen Sengun, and Jabari Smith. Sengun doesn't really shoot threes, and it's not like he's barely attempting one attempt on like 31%. While Jabari Smith, he's showing that he can be a shooter. My assumption is you go on offense, Jabari Smith would be a power forward while Shagun's center, and then on defense, you'd hope Sengun would be able to hold his own while Jabari Smith plays rim protector. How would you see this working out for Jabari Smith and Alperen Sengun to work out together as the front court? Because you assume that's what you want to do. Because Alperen Sengun looks like he could be the third guy where it goes Nikola Jokic, Domantas Sabonis, Alperen Sengun.
Dude, Sengun reminds me exactly of Jokic in his first couple of years. Here's Jokic's second season. 17 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, a little under a steal and a block per game. 32% from downtown, 58% from the field. Here's Sengun, 15 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, a little under a steal and a block per game. 55% from the field, 56% from the field, 32% from downtown. I think Alperen Sengun, especially working with Hakeem, I think his offense is only going to continue to improve. He's such a talented passer, and you want to run your offense through him. But then it brings up, even look at Jokic now. Like they have lapses at the defensive side of the ball, but Jokic's offense is so good. I think that would be the ideal thought process is Sengun defensively 4, Jabari 5, switch it on offense. But then the thing is, what do you do against Joel Embiid? What do you do against, any big set? Like, what do you do against Bam? I guess Jabari is a little bit better suited for Bam, but like,
I guess in those situations, obviously, we're talking maybe a year or two down the road. By that point, Jabari Smith's at 240, not 220. That's what you're assuming. He's bulked up. Alperen Sengun's another year in NBA conditioning and NBA training, so hopefully he's a bit better at being a defender, moving his hips, keeping his hands up. So, and maybe James Harden's here and they're more locked in. But
Jokic weighs 285 pounds, though.
Who?
Jokic.
What's Sengun at right now? What's Sengun's weight? 250? 240?
Sengun weight, I'm going to guess 245. 243.
243, okay. So he's at 243. So you think right there, and I'm trying to think of another team that has a small front court like this, and none are really coming to mind. And even Domantas Sabonis, it's just, I think what we have to see is how teams have used Domantas Sabonis, and I know Sabonis has played most of his career besides this season and half of last year next to Miles Turner. But Domantas Sabonis is, I know, 7'1", 240.
So is, I guess, that like a team like the Kings is your offense is good enough. Somebody just said it where defense isn't really that important anymore because of offense. Like it's being overlooked. You hope for a team like the Kings that your offense, one of the what are they on pace for the second best offense ever?
Yeah.
You hope that it is enough and that in the fourth quarter you can come in, whether it's rotation based or just effort based, and lock things up. But then you see a guy like Giannis last night, or Giannis anytime he plays the Sacramento Kings, where it's just he just kind of abuses it. And Giannis is a freak of nature, but you're gonna have to beat these freak of natures. They keep coming into the league. These are not.
We just lost Jackson. Jackson's internet just cut out. Jackson, are you back?
I guess so.
Yeah, we just lost you for a second.
I don't know why that happens.
Restart what you just said. About 5 seconds back. Go 5 seconds. We lost you for 5 seconds.
That's a long time. You just kind of hope your offense can. You're so talented on offense that if you can get enough stops and you can generate enough stops, you can play certain rotations, having guys like last night we'll talk about, like Trey Lyles finishing the game for him, get a little bit of length when you're playing a Giannis. You're just going to have to figure out ways. And, I don't think Silas is the guy to figure out ways to.
We know that Silas is the guy. We've talked about it. Silas is not the guy. And I think that's the way you have to go. if you want Jabari Smith and Alperen Sengun, you got to keep working on their defense, but you got to make this offense so good that it's fine that they're on the floor. And I think it's continuing to put the ball in Sengun's hands. It's like half the games we see Sengun, they put the ball in his hands, and he's creating for others, looking like that Sabonis Jokic type guy that he can beat. Then other games, there's just be a rebounder and putbacks, and you're just like. And that's why we agree that Silas should not be the coach after this season. It'd be a detriment to this team, and it just has not worked. Is this year 3 or year 4 of Silas?
Year 3.
It's over. I'd be outraged if they give him another year.
Yeah. And he wasn't even brought into. What I do worry is he wasn't brought in to play with this roster. We had a completely different team. I think we still had Russ at that time.
Then they traded for John.
But yeah, we had James Harden. We had PJ Tucker.
Marcus Cousins was brought in.
We were ready to win. And my one concern is that
the Rockets were trying to have a big 3 of Boogie, Wall, and Harden.
No.
They paid Boogie like the mid-level that year.
You don't get paid mid-levels to be your third option, though.
Boogie was starting next to Christian Wood. It was Christian Wood, Boogie, John Wall, James Harden, and Daniel House or Eric Gordon.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of guys who come in and start him and don't close. Let's look at Boogie's minutes that year.
Let's pivot right here.
He started 11 games, 20 minutes. Yeah, I don't see it. But no, real quick, my contingency, my worry is that they bring back James Harden and they're like, oh, we brought Silas in to coach James Harden. So let's just keep James Harden, now that we have James Harden, let's just keep Silas here.
I mean, Armis Jones said it best. Houston will need to take the ISO ball mechanic, take out the ISO ball mechanic in their system. Players like Jabari Smith and Sengun will thrive under an actual system without the ISOs disrupting the flow. I agree. Bring in Kenny Atkinson.
That's the issue with Kevin Porter, my starting point guard.